The lawyer's office smelled faintly of old paper, polished wood, and something bitter, maybe black coffee that had gone cold hours ago. The kind of place where time felt heavy, where every tick of the clock reminded you that life was measured in moments you could never get back. My sister, Layla, sat across the long oak table from me, her posture stiff, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She wore black, of course. We all did. Our father had passed away 2 weeks earlier, and today was the day his will would be read. But Layla wasn't looking at the lawyer. She was staring at the man beside me. The color drained from her face so fast it was like someone had flipped a switch. Her lips parted slightly, her eyes widening in disbelief. For a second, I thought she might faint. The man next to me noticed her reaction and turned his head slowly. He was in his late 70s, maybe older, with silver hair neatly combed back and deep lines etched into his face, lines that spoke of a life filled with both laughter and regret. His back was straight, his suit impeccably tailored, and his eyes were sharp, intelligent, and unsettlingly familiar. His name, as I had introduced him moments earlier, was Marcus. Layla whispered it under her breath, as if saying it out loud might make it too real. Marcus. Her fingers trembled. Our father's lawyer, Mr. Reynolds, cleared his throat. Is everyone ready for the reading? Layla didn't answer. She couldn't take her eyes off the old man. Neither could I, really, because until a week ago, I hadn't known who Marcus was either. I met Marcus at my father's grave. The funeral had been small and quiet. Layla stood with her husband and children, surrounded by friends and relatives, receiving condolences like a queen on a somber throne. I stood a little apart, as I always had, close enough to be family, far enough to feel like an afterthought. That's when Marcus approached me. "I'm sorry for your loss," he said gently. There was something about his voice that made me look up. Calm, steady, but carrying an undercurrent of emotion he was trying hard to keep buried. "Thank you," I replied. He studied my face for a moment, then nodded slowly, as if confirming something to himself. "You look just like your mother." No one had said that to me in years. We started talking about the weather, about how sudden my father's passing had been, about life, small, polite things. But then he asked, "Did your father ever tell you about the summer of 1987? I frowned. "No, why?" A shadow crossed his face. "Because that summer changed everything." Before I could ask what he meant, Layla called my name from across the cemetery. Marcus gave me a soft, sad smile. "We'll talk again," he said. "There's something you deserve to know." A few days later, he invited me for coffee. That's when the truth came out. Marcus and my father had once been best friends, closer than brothers. They grew up together, built their first business together, fell in love with the same woman together. My father had won her heart. They married. Marcus walked away, carrying a wound that never fully healed. But the story didn't end there. "There was a time," Marcus said, staring into his untouched cup of coffee, "when your mother and I reconnected. Briefly, it was a mistake, a moment of weakness, but that moment created you." The world tilted. "You're saying," my voice barely worked. "I am your biological father," he finished quietly. I laughed, a short, broken sound. "That's not possible." "I did a DNA test with your father's old medical records. He knew. He found out years ago, and he forgave us both. He raised you as his own, loved you as his own, and asked me to stay away so you could have a normal life." Tears blurred my vision. "Why tell me now?" "Because your father is gone," Marcus said, "and because he left something for you, something he asked me to deliver in person." Which is how I ended up beside Marcus at the will reading. And how my sister ended up looking like she had seen a ghost. Layla had always believed she was the golden child, the one who would inherit everything, the one our father trusted most with the family business, the properties, the legacy. The lawyer began to read. Assets, accounts, jewelry, stocks, each item carefully listed, each share divided. Layla's name came up often. So did mine. But then Mr. Reynolds paused and adjusted his glasses. "There is an additional clause," he said, "one that your father insisted be read in full." He looked directly at Layla. "To my daughter Layla, I leave the house, the business, and the majority of my estate, on the condition that you never attempt to sell or mortgage any part of it without the written consent of Marcus Hale." Layla's head snapped up. "What?" Mr. Reynolds continued. And to my son, he hesitated, then corrected himself. To the child I raised as my son, I leave the trust fund, the savings account, and the rights to the property in the countryside. These are to be overseen by Marcus Hale, who will act as guardian of these assets and, if he wishes, as a father in every sense of the word. The room went silent. Layla's eyes darted between me and Marcus. This is some kind of joke. Marcus finally spoke. It is. She stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Why him? Who is he to us? I swallowed hard. He's my real father. The word hung in the air like thunder. Layla laughed, but it sounded hysterical. That's impossible. Dad would never. He did, Marcus said gently. He loved you both, but he also believed in the truth, even if it came too late. Her face twisted with anger, fear, and something else, greed. So that's it, she snapped. You show up with some old man and suddenly everything changes. Nothing changes about how much your father loved you, Marcus replied, but some things were never meant to be hidden forever. After the meeting, Layla confronted me in the hallway. You planned this, she accused. You always wanted more than your share. I shook my head. I didn't even know until last week. She looked at Marcus, then back at me. He's manipulating you. Marcus stepped forward. I'm not here to take anything from you. I'm here to give your sibling what they lost without ever knowing it, a father. Layla's eyes filled with unshed tears. For a moment her anger faltered. Then she turned away. Weeks passed. The lawyers finalized everything. The trust was set up. The countryside property, our father's quiet retreat, was officially mine. But the greatest inheritance wasn't land or money. It was the late-night conversations with Marcus, learning about my mother, about my father's kindness, about the friendship that had survived betrayal and time, about forgiveness. One evening, as we sat on the porch of that countryside house watching the sun sink into gold, Marcus said softly, Your father was a better man than I ever was. He gave you his name, his love, and his life. I can never replace that, but if you'll let me, I'd like to be here for the rest. I took a deep breath and nodded. I'd like that too. In the end, my sister didn't just freeze at the will reading because of the money. She froze because, in one moment, the story she believed about our family shattered. And from the pieces, a new truth emerged, one that no inheritance could ever outweigh.